It's Virginia stand-up.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Marsha Carter McLean, and I am the host for the 2.0 Grandma's Show. I'm so delighted to have this special guest with me this afternoon. Oh my God. I just want to say that the 2.0 Grandma's Show is all about grandmas, okay? It is for grandmas, it's about grandmas, and guess what? It is by a grandma, okay? So this afternoon, it is my pleasure to present and introduce to you guys Miss Lolita Frazier.
Hello.
She is the runway boss. All right, you're going to hear all about her time as a model, what she's doing now as a runway coach, and we hope that she's going to share a little of her personal story with us. It is a phenomenal story. I am very honored to know her and to have done some things with her. So I'm very excited that she's here this afternoon so she can share with us her journey and what she's been doing. So welcome, Lolita. I'm excited.
Yes, Marsha, I'm so excited. Hello to the audience out there and to everyone listening. I'm super excited about this. Like, I've been smiling the whole time, as you see. I'm like, I'm gonna have
we have to do face yoga before it's over, right? Right.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you for having me.
You are quite welcome. I am just so delighted, and I want to really talk to you about a few different things. So let me kind of let the audience know what we're going to talk about, and then we'll jump right in. So first, I want to hear your personal story. Secondly, I want to hear about your not your occupation, because I think it's your passion. I don't think it's an occupation. I think it's more like a passion for you. The things that you do as a runway coach, as a confidence coach, and I always like to say as the runway boss, honey. So I want to hear about that. I want to hear how all that came about. I know our audience wants to hear, because the other thing that you do is something you refer to as confidence coaching. And I tell you, I had the pleasure of doing a photo shoot with you, and oh my God, best thing ever happened to me. I went to the post office the other day, and the lady said, "You just glided into the room." I'm like, "Oh, did I really?" I didn't even know it, right? It was so funny. And then this weekend, a girl said to me, I was at a hotel, I had to go out of town, and I went downstairs to get coffee and stuff, at the breakfast, and the lady said, "Man, you sure are built." And I was like, "Are you talking to me?" She said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, wow." I said, "This confidence stuff is really working, okay?" Because it's going to put me in a whole new category that I didn't even know I was in. But it's so amazing. So that's what I want grandmas to hear about. So let's start with the personal.
All right. And so I guess personal would start with who I am. Mm-hmm. And so my name is Lolita Frazier. And outside of being a runway trainer and a confidence coach, my most proudest, I guess, title would be being a mother. And so I'm a mom of 3 and a grandmom of 4. I'm from Virginia originally, but I currently reside in Columbia, South Carolina. And I am the creator and founder of a nonprofit organization called Strut Talk Runway Therapy. To go back into who I am, my personal life, I'm actually doing an interview right now. And so it's really made me think about how to share that, in a gist. And so I am the oldest of 4 daughters, raised by a single parent who happens to be a fashionista. My mother actually collected Vogue magazine. So my whole life, I was always inspired by fashion. But I didn't come from the best of backgrounds. And so I dealt with a lot of negativity, a lot of limited beliefs, actually feeling like I would, never, ever be good enough to do something like that. But that was what the world had told me. For some reason, I always had this confidence, but it was I was confident, but not confident to show people that I was confident, if that makes sense. I knew who I was. I knew who I was going to be. I knew that my situation wasn't going to dictate who I was. I saw my mom. So my mom is so beautiful. I knew that I was going to blossom, and I knew all these things, but I didn't know how to voice that. And I've seen a lot of bad stuff, growing up, a lot of abuse. really, I say when I want to try to describe it, sometimes it's like confused as a child, scared to smile. They call me ugly. And so I say that because I was so confused as a little girl. I was like, I saw one thing, people saw another. I felt one thing, they felt another. And it wasn't until I got older, of course, and started facing some of the things that had been my setbacks, like, really like meeting my dad and really understanding life a little bit more, that I was able to like stand more in my truth as a person, like not even a model, because I wasn't even thinking about modeling. I was really thinking about just, standing tall. Like, I was thinking about this on the way here. Like my grandmother always said, like, it's not what you go through, it's what you show. And
Mm.
so every day, like even though it was a struggle at home, it was like I always was particular about, how I carried myself and how I walked in the room. And I never wanted them to know what my real story was. And so I was strutting through it before I even realized what strutting through it was.
Mm.
Watching my mom
Mm-hmm.
then be able to put on a pair of Gucci shades, and still walk out the house and treat people with kindness. It's like, okay, that's what strutting through it was. But, it took me until now to realize like exactly what was happening. And so I think that sums up my, life as far as that part. And then I grew up and I decided to take a chance on me. I was like, I'm gonna audition for this fashion show. It was actually not a bet, but my kids wanted to audition for basketball and they missed the audition. And the lady was like, well, if you audition for this fashion show, I'll get them a chance to audition and try out. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And so it was kind of like, but then I was like good at it. And it was like, okay, now I want to compete. Like I want to, because it wasn't about me being a model. It was like, man, this is all the stuff people said I couldn't do. And now
Mm.
out here, like people saying like, man, you look like a warrior on the runway where I used to be a victim. And so I'm like,
Mm.
oh my God, like I can re-narrate this. I can rewrite this. Like I can show people that,
Yes.
you know, like my past don't have anything to do with what I feel, like and who I am. And so that's how this whole runway thing started. And the rest is history, to be honest with you, as far as that part of my life. So
Wow. And that story, even though to you it may not sound beautiful, but to people hearing it, it is a beautiful story. It's a story of trials and tribulation, which is what we call life, right? It's a
yes,
story of how you overcame some of those issues, from
yes,
a young girl to the woman that you are today.
yeah,
And that to me is a very beautiful story. And sometimes we tend to think that our stories don't matter, but everybody has a story and
yes.
every story matters. And it is
And
who we become as a result of those stories.
I honestly, I wholeheartedly like believe that.
Yeah.
I know that there are chapters, in life, and that those were just those chapters. And then, moving forward, I had to face like other chapters, that
Hmm. Hmm.
another direction. So
Yeah, but it's a beautiful story. And let's look at you now, the triumph, right? The glory,
yeah,
the
yeah,
phenomenal person that you are, and the person that you've connected and helped so many other people just because of the trials and tribulation that you had.
yes,
So I know that you and I have had previous conversations, but I think it's so wonderful for other people to hear
yeah,
about you and your story. And so I love the fact that you're a grandma. And when you told me that at the beginning, I'm like, yeah, right. But people people would say that to me, so I get it.
yeah,
But it's still a beautiful thing because grandmas range in age from 38 all the way up to 100 plus, right? I think probably the youngest is about 30 something, late 30s. So it doesn't matter. But what Grandma's 2.0 is focusing on is their mindset. Doesn't really matter
yeah,
what your age is, it's about your mindset. And
right.
that is something I think that you and I have in common. So now I'd love for you to talk about the runway coach, how you've taken this and turned it into therapy for people, how you've turned it into coaching for yourself. Just all the things that you've done with this.
All right. And so, like when last set spoke, I said that I started competing. Like I wanted to. I have all these things to prove to myself. Like, oh my God, like what if I could, like I feel like I have it inside of me to be anybody. Like it was like it had ignited something inside of me, and I did this competition, and I won. I think it was like $2,500.
Wow.
One of the judges' comments, he said, "Your walk is crazy." And so my first name is Lolita, which is a Spanish name. And so instead of saying crazy, I said loco. And then
Ah,
I don't walk, I strut. And so that's how my business, I came up with my name,
ah,
Loco Strut. But
okay.
it's also both of my names. So my name's Lolita Nicole. People who
Uh-huh,
call me Lo, and people who
uh-huh.
call me Nicole call me Cole. So it's kind of ironic how that happened. But
Ah,
I
hmm.
started, I love teaching. I love helping, and so I would go to these fashion shows or auditions, and I would see a model in the room that wasn't as confident as I was, and that I knew that feeling. I knew, it made me think about what is she walking in? Like, I know she looks shy, but, is there something else behind it? Maybe I could just go over and just help her. And I always wanted people to be on the same level. Like, because I can remember being the underdog before I was confident enough to compete, where people would actually laugh at me, my walk, because to them my walk was very stiff, but really it was just a more European style walk. Um,
Mm.
Correct way, where I got into urban runway, they were twisting and turning and spinning, and I'm trying to keep up, but I'm like, this is not what I've ever seen before. And and so I started just offering coaching. Like, it was free. I would just tell models like, hey, you can meet me here, like, I'll help you out. And then from there, people started telling me their stories. Most of their stories were like my story. They
Mm-hmm.
were all black and ugly. They didn't have a dad. They grew up in an abusive home. And so I was able to share with them, well, so did I. And they just come,
Mm.
they're like, you did? I'm like, yeah. Like, so why you don't? And I'm like, well, because I don't want to be like that. Like, you can be anything you want to be. Like, you could go out there and be confident. Like, they don't have to know that. Like, you could tell another story. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started doing it, and people started reaching out saying, like, oh my God, like, my confidence has gone up, blah, blah, blah. And now people started calling me a confidence coach. I didn't want the title.
Huh.
I didn't want it. But I started that because I couldn't deny something that was really happening. Like, people all over from all walks of life. There was breast cancer survivors. There were,
Mm.
people who were homeless. There were people who have been abused and raped and all these things. And they're like, oh my God, like, you gave me the confidence to talk about it, right? To say it, to not let it hold me back. And so I took on the title of confidence coach because, you can't deny something that people feel. You
Mm-hmm.
um
As my son said, you got to give the people what they want.
Gotta get it.
Yeah.
And so that's how the confidence coaching started. And traveling everywhere, teaching people runway confidence through runway walking, teaching people how to strut through their pain, how to stand in their truth, like, just say what happened to you. Like, I was known for telling people the bad things about my life, because I'm like, I know I'm getting ready I'm going somewhere big. Like, I'm gonna be big. Like, people gonna TMZ, they're gonna interview me. Like, they gonna know everything. Let me tell the people, yes, I did this, I did that, I used to be like this, and that doesn't dictate who I am today. And then yeah, and then I ended up going, I that was that. And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, to me, that is really beautiful, because I think that you're just what a lot of people need. They need to hear. Sometimes we don't share our stories because we are embarrassed by our stories. But again, the story, whatever our story is, that's what makes us who we are. And for
yes,
someone else to hear it can change their life.
no,
It
absolutely,
really can change their life. And you're like, oh my God, if she could do that and then maybe I can do that.
yes, and
It's really confirming, I think, to some people.
no,
It helps them see themselves in a different light.
yeah. And I didn't mention this earlier, but the foundation of my hurt was
Mm-hmm.
not having a dad, because I felt like rejected,
Mm-hmm.
same dad, and I didn't have a dad. I come from a Native American family. I'm darker, they're lighter. Like, it was just kind of like I felt like I wasn't good enough. I can remember
Mm-hmm.
down,
Mm-hmm.
like, just the negativity around me, like, the way people talked about it. Like, I was a kid, but I remember people talking about, like, her daddy ain't come around, and it's kind of like I'm listening, and it's just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
man, it made me feel bad. But
Mm-hmm.
I forgave my dad. My whole life changed. Like, before I forgave
Mm-hmm.
my dad, I was mean, I was bitter, I fought all the time. I was disrespectful. I just was so mad at the world, because I just felt like if my own dad wasn't going to invest in me, like, why I just wasn't good enough. And as me and my dad built a relationship, and I really understood that my dad is a person, like him and my mom, like they were people, and they went through things too. And like that, I don't know. It's like once I realized that it wasn't personal, like it was just like a part of life, because now I have kids, and now I see that my kids' father and me, we're not really getting along, and maybe this could have been my situation if I hold my kid back, you know? And so when I my dad, I started meeting different kinds of men. I moved different. Like I was able to embrace that side of me that people used to be like, oh, she's a goody two shoe on one side, but then I was a gangster on the other. From that chaos and confusion where my family was just like that. And so you thought you had to be like that. I'm the oldest. Even when I didn't have to fight, what I had to fight. I had to. If I didn't, I was going to get in trouble at home. And so a lot of my ways were like forced on me. I never wanted to be like that. I would fight people, apologize, tell them I'm sorry because I didn't want to do it, but I had to, you know? And so, yeah. So I wanted to mention that because as I think about it, it's like, okay, that was like the transition of my life, forgiving the thing that hurt me the most. And that's how I in my life, like giving things that have hurt me, you know, instead of running from them, I run to them.
Ran to them,
like, better. Like I don't want to be like that, you know.
Yeah, you know, that's just what we say about fear. Don't be so fearful that you don't run to whatever it is you are, you know, your purpose is, because sometimes people do that. But embrace it, run towards it, embrace it, let it happen, let it fall out the way it needs to fall out. But guess what? On the other side, it is so sweet. Yes. And you just put that's just what you just shared with us on the other side, how beautiful it can be. And I love that you had the courage to forgive, because a lot of times we don't have the courage to forgive. We hold it in and we let it dictate who we become. Now, I did not mean to turn this into a therapy session, a strut therapy session, but I think these are some beautiful things that people need to hear. I really do. And so let's fast forward a little bit, because I want people to hear about all the beautiful things you do. And I call it like your body of work. That's an academic term. But anyway, your body of work, the things that you have done for people, you know, like the experience that I had when I went down to Colombia in October. Please tell people about that. Please tell people about that.
And so through confidence coaching, I have a number of different ways that it's done. You know, because everybody has different needs. You know, I deal with youth, but I also deal with adults. I deal with men, I deal with women, you know. And so this part of it is called Style Me Loco. And basically what it is image consulting, image revamping, where you just bring someone in, you build their confidence, but not just on the inside, which what I'm used to doing. It's also helping people to maybe get that old thing back or get something new. I've learned that as I've grown, you know, I'm fortunate enough to, you know, I'm keeping up with my fashion. I'm keeping up with my health and my, you know, I'm keeping up with everything, right? With the trends or just doing my own thing. But there's a lot of people who don't know how to do that. So sometimes when you can show somebody another side of them, it ignites something inside of them that it doesn't burn out. It's like a feeling that keeps going. And what it does is it makes you greater at everything that you do. You know, it's like if you're running an organization or a company, well, if you have happy, confident employees, then you're probably going to make way more money because they're coming in with the right attitude. And I feel like that's the same thing when we look our best and we feel it and it matches, we're unstoppable. And so what that is you come in, you know, we find you clothing that you love, get you a professional makeup artist, a whole style team, you know, hair, videography, photographer, and just make you feel something that will last a lifetime, you know, because like I said, it's more than a photo shoot. While you're going through the process, you're being poured into, you know, we're pouring into each other. It's like a bonding moment that, you know, you don't really know you need it until you experience it.
Yes. And I can vouch for that. Oh my God. It was probably one of the most incredible things that I experienced in my life, was having done that. It was beautiful. I felt very much like a celebrity. Okay. It was very beautiful. I mean, the whole experience was so beautiful. And then I felt like, you know, with the videography and the photos, I felt like there was paparazzi. Oh yeah, I just felt like a celebrity all around. Yeah. So it was beautiful to me. And now tell us about the fashion show. Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. And so runway therapy. Um, in 2016, I talk about hurt people and people walking in pain and people just, strutting in their confidence and all those things. But in 2016, a hurt person that was walking in pain killed my son. My only son, his name is Jordan Lalo Stiff. And, here I am teaching people how to strut through their pain, strut with confidence. And I get hit with something that's so hard. I don't even know how to move forward. I am literally stuck. And I just kept remembering all the other things that I had been through. And even though they weren't as hard as losing my son, I knew that in that moment, I thought they were. I thought that I could never see like the light in those situations, but I did. And so my mindset would go to my posture. Like if I was down, I would automatically sit up, because I'm like, okay, if I walk in it is here, strutting through it is here. Like it's going to take me out. Like I have to be able to be strong enough to get through this. And so I started thinking about my posture, my body language, and teaching people to strut through their pain. And so that's the most important thing to me with runway therapy. It's like I became that person that I was that warrior that people saw when I was younger, and I was the hurt little girl. And now here you are thinking I'm still that warrior and I'm a mother of a murdered son. And it showed me that I don't have to lead in with the hurt. That doesn't have to be my story. I can be the warrior and then tell you later that I'm a mother of a murdered son, to give you the encouragement that if I can strut through this, you can go through. And so people understand that. They're like, oh my God. And I'm like, it's not going to change it. It's not going to bring my son back, but I can get through it. I can get through it stronger. I can get my message out more clear. And so I have a fashion show every year. It's called Strut Talk, the show, A Son for My Son. I honor mothers of murdered children, and I highlight those lost to gun violence, domestic violence, and any senseless tragedy. I'm a firm believer that the guns don't just kill people. People don't just kill people. Hurt people kill people. If you're hurt, if you're walking in that pain, walking in it, allowing it to be heavy, control your mind, your emotions, and you happen to have a gun, you could possibly kill someone. And I've experienced it 3 times. My son was killed in 2016. My niece was killed in 2019. And my nephew was killed in 2020. And so I know that it's true that happy people don't kill people. And so my whole goal is to get people to start strutting through their pain, like, standing firm in their truth. Whatever happened to you as a kid, it's a chapter. It doesn't mean that it has to be the end of your story. And I know that the kid that caused my son's death at 19 years old, you can't just be a killer, but you could be somebody that, kind of was forgotten about. Maybe things happen to you that you never ever released. And then you have a gun and you don't even know how to control your emotions. It's easy to pull the trigger. And so I do this not for my son, but for everybody's sons. Sons mean in their light, because we all together, if we continue to strut through things, and not hold them in, we can definitely make a difference, and I believe that with my heart. And so that's why I make it my business to anybody that I feel like needs to talk. I talk to, Strut Talk is the conversation with no words. And so when you see people walking, we see people walking in pain and we ignore it. You know what I'm saying? We ignore it. Come up to us and say, hey, is everything okay? It's not because they're guessing. It's because we're walking in something. And, the more we can identify with that and talk to people and really understand that one conversation could be the one thing that they need. And so I spend my life doing this, like, helping people, all people, so we can prevent suicide and we can prevent all this bad stuff that's happening, because it really comes from the hurt is the root of it, And so this is my way. God just used runway because it's always been my passion. But he just showed me that he was going to show me my purpose through it. And so now I don't really care about, the catwalks all across the world. I care about the world, you know what I'm saying? And the walk of life, the strut. So that's where we at right now. And it's taking me to Portugal, all across the world, to be honest with you, from Portland, Portugal, Germany, wherever there's a person that's felt what I do and they believe in it, they promise me, like, I'm gonna bring this to my country, and so far twice it's happened. And, so it's like, I'm following God's lead right now. Sometimes I don't even know how to answer these questions because I'm like, I don't even really know sometimes. I just be obedient and just follow his lead, even hard and I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, sometimes it's not to our
yeah.
understanding, but yeah, I cannot know anything. I don't know anything about your experience. I
Right.
can't even fathom, that myself. But what I want to say to you is that, my God, you're very brave.
I think
You are definitely a role model for so many people, because unfortunately so many people has the same experience, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It's senseless, but it is a reality.
mm-hmm.
And I just commend you for being so brave and brave enough to share this with other people, because you really don't have to. Like I said,
Right.
you could just live behind it and not really share that with anybody. But it takes a brave person, I think, to really share that experience with others, and also to let them know that, yes, this is what I've gone through, but guess what? I've used that,
Right.
and God has used that, not to my understanding, but he has used that to help me with my purpose and to do
Yes.
things for other people. So that's very brave, I believe. And, all the beautiful things that you do.
Yeah.
I want you also to tell us about your book. I don't want us to forget
Ooh,
about that before we leave. And then I also want you to tell folks how they can get in touch with you,
okay.
because I think what you're doing is some beautiful work. And so I want to share it with grandmas. And I know that there's a lot of them out there that probably need to hear your story and to connect with you as well. So please.
Well, thank you. And so I wrote a journal. It's called Strut Through It. It's a mantra journal. The inspiration behind this is that one of my breast cancer survivors I went online on Instagram for Susan G. Komen Foundation every day for 30 days, for 30 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
I would just to the audience, give them a mantra, strut through it until you get to it. Now is the time. Why walk in it when you can strut through it? The choice is yours. Just all these different mantras I would have for them. And then I will break it down and share a little bit about my life and ask them, have you found yourself in this situation, or, just to be interactive. And they loved it. And one of the survivors said, man, everybody needs a piece of you in their life. And so it, I'm going to write a journal. And so I wrote this journal, and it's a beautiful journal where it's interactive. And so you're able to release, reflect, and reaffirm. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can, once you read the mantra, you flip the page, and now it gives you an exercise. The exercise may be mirror talk. Mirror talk will say, we're so used to complimenting other people, but when was the
Mm-hmm.
last time you actually complimented yourself? And for you to look in yourself
Mm-hmm.
for 30 seconds, you record it, and you just speak to you. You tell yourself, and you will find it so liberating, because so many people do not look at themselves that way. I do that all the time. That's how I've gotten through a lot of things too. And so I've shared some of the things that helped me get through my hard times with everyone else. And then you journal on the next page what this made you feel like. And so it's a lot of fun strutting exercises too. Like one of them is you strut in the grocery store or wherever you are, like you just get in position with your shoulders back.
Like I did in the post
Yes.
office, right?
Yeah. You really just get yourself in position. So you make sure
Mm-hmm.
strut list is your shoulders are back, your
Mm-hmm.
chest is out, your chin is up,
Mm-hmm.
core is tight, and your mind is right. And so when you get in
Love that
position,
part.
this is anything that you do in life, whether you're walking into the office, to a doctor's appointment to get results, anything, if we prepare ourselves with our posture, we will actually activate our power. And so I get people to try these things. And then, like you said, you would actually come back and journal, oh my God, I tried this at the grocery store or the dentist's office. And they actually said, hey, it's like a new pep in your step.
Right.
And so it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good, like to stand tall. It's no greater feeling than to do that. And so I challenge people that even if you might be going through hard times, don't try to change your mind about the situation. Change your posture about it and watch how your mind will just follow. You
Mm, mm. Change your posture and your mind will follow. That
Your
could be a
mind,
song.
yes, your mind.
So that's your next thing, right? Now you're going to write a song, right?
But
About it, right?
actually, we do have a little theme song that we just wrote. It's called Strut Talk. And I'll be playing that soon we just did an experience in New York Fashion Week. So we'll put that on a documentary.
I can't wait to
Oh,
see
it's
that.
so cool. But yeah, so we do all these beautiful things with Strut Talk. And like I said, we have the journal. But if anyone does want to reach me, I offer virtual services as well as I'll fly to your city. Wherever you are, I can, walk you through putting this together. Like if you want to do this for your girlfriends or for your family or for you and your daughters or you and your children, your husband, it's such a bonding experience. The exercises that I use, that it's fun. It's a fun way to release where people don't even realize how deep it's going to be because they think, oh, it's just going to be some runway stuff. Well, actually, it's a lot deeper than that, but it's so much fun. And it's like the best way to release because it's like, oh my God, who would have ever thought I would have shared something like that? But now that I have, and I realize that I'm not even the only one in the room that's dealing with that same thing.
So how do we get in touch with you through social media?
Social media on Instagram is Strut, STRUT_talk. Also on Facebook is Strut Talk. You will find Lolita Frazier everywhere. So my website is lolitafrazier.com. And I do have a Facebook page also that's Lolita Frazier. And so any of those would be great. I'm still working on my TikTok. Still just trying to figure it all out. I'm not really a big social media person, but you can find me. Like, I have my contact information all over the place. So it's not hard if you don't forget the name. So,
all right. So thank you, Lolita. And I just want to say, oh my God, I just love you. I love what you're doing. I love your personality. I love you. And thank you so much for honoring me today to be on the 2.0 Grandma Show. Thank you. And have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.